Hey, what is up guys, Kevin here with P.O.G, and last video of 2020 is a deck profile as the title says, and it's going to be over, yes, the PACMAN deck. If you don't know, PACMAN is a deck that I advocated for strongly, how much I enjoyed the deck and whatnot, and overall just really enjoyed it, but I didn't really know how to play it, what to actually play in it, but with the help of the whole community, we are able to get a deck working that's pretty fun and it's pretty consistent in what it wants and needs to do, being a Pac-Man deck. But before we get right into it, shoutouts to Lucas Gaylord for coming up with this deck specifically. Every card that's in here is of his build, so make no mistake, this is not my build. I didn't come up with this, but shoutouts to him. If you want to see more decks like this, and you don't know where to go to, there's not enough videos for what you want to see, why not head over to the Curse of Yugioh server in Discord. Link down below in the description to find out more decks. There's a whole category, it's archived, of different types of decks all the way down, and you can find certain decks that are filed within the type that they are. So go ahead and go check it out. Really cool, very easy to find things in there. Even if it's just for ideas, or if you want to copy paste, who cares, right? There they are. So without further ado, let's get into this deck profile. So if you didn't know, Pac-Man plays these flip summon monsters. Play 3 of the swarm of scarabs. Yes. So I'll explain why 3 in a minute and why I actually enjoy this. So for now, we'll move on to the rest of them. 2 Deslakuta, and 1 swarm of locusts, 6 of the Pac-Man monsters themselves. So what they do, why we play them at these levels, and why I completely agree with this. Swarm of Scarabs, when it's flip summon, destroys a back row. Deslakuta, when it's flip summon, lets you draw a card. And Swarm of Locusts lets you pop a monster. So let's talk about why we're playing 3 Scarabs, because we don't play any other back row removal in this deck. This is the thing that we use. This is what we need to use, so it's the thing we need to see most. Deslakuta, it's here for extra draw power, and that's the reason it's called Pac-Man, is because of this camel here. And finally, Swarm of Locusts. We only play 1 because we do have a lot of ways of stopping our opponent's monsters. We do have the skill card, Twisted Personality. I'll put it on the screen here because I can't find mine for whatever reason. We use this because we're going to be dealing damage, and that's going to be able to pop other cards, mainly monsters that we need to get rid of. So we don't really need too many Swarm of Locusts, even though it is the most powerful in attack out of all 3 of these, right? So I agree with this completely. Again, we have monster popping advantages with the skill card. We do need to be able to draw, so we do need to play at least some variants of Deslakuta, so 2 seems advantageous, and we don't have any back row removal, so 3 Swarm of Scarabs is probably the best option. So moving on from there, past the Pac-Man monsters, we do play another monster, and that is 2 of the Sphere Karibos. This is one way that we're going to stop our opponent from destroying our face-down Pac-Man monsters during their turn. It's a very easy thing to do. It also helps us from not dying, and overall it stays in the hand, so it's not going to die to a lot of things. The only thing it's going to die to is other Twisted Personality skills, as well as Dark Red Enchanter. So, and maybe if people play it, maybe the trap cards allow you to hit things out of hand, so maybe drop-offs, maybe what do you call it? The sword trap card that allows you to pick a random card out of your opponent's hand, the Light Force Sword, and maybe Mind Crush, that's what it's called, right? Maybe that, but not a lot of people play that, so Sphere Karibo is still a really great card for that reason specifically, just to stop your opponent from attacking to the other monsters. We have our 1 copy or 3 copies of the 1 spell card we play, and that's the best one, and that's Book of Moon. If you don't know, Book of Moon is so advantageous. It's just really good. It can be used offensively and defensively for you know, whatever we're using it for. We need to stop our opponent from attacking into our monster. Great, it's there. If we need it for a Jinzo to flip it face down, great, it's there. If we needed to flip one of our own monsters back face down, great, it's there. I don't know why we would, but you know, none of them are flip effects. But if we need to, it's there. It's such a versatile card, offensively and defensively. I've said this in almost every video I've made involving Book of Moon. One of the best spell cards. It's going to stay around for a very long time. As long as Speed Duels is around, it's going to be relevant. Then we move on to the traps. We play 3 Floodgate Trap Hole. And the reason we play this, right, and the reason we're going to be playing the other 6 trap cards that we do is mainly because we don't have the main thing that PACMAN desperately needs to be good, and that is a actual type of floodgate that stops our opponent from attacking, even if it was something like a stumbling. We don't have that in Speed Duels yet, so that's what gives PACMAN such a disadvantage, is that we don't have something like that to stop our opponent. The closest things we do have, though, when we can get close to it, Floodgate Trap Hole, flips the monster face down when it's summoned, or monsters. So if your opponent activates something like Union Scramble, there's the Floodgate Trap Hole. So it's a really good card because it makes it stay face down unless there's an effect that it flips it face up. So I don't think we really have anything to be worried about when it comes to that, when it comes to Floodgate Trap Hole and Speed Duels. So really good and solid card. It's a better card now because we have the box than it was before we had the box, because now there's more decks that we can actually use this, especially if it's against something like Inner Conflict. There's a lot of normal summonable monsters that this just is really nice against. The only thing that this fails against is obviously Jinzo, but overall I really enjoy this choice. Moving on, next trap card, 3 Nightmare Wheel. Again, we are playing Twisted Personality. Here comes the burn portion, right? Again, stops our opponent from attacking with the monster that it's equipped to, and it's going to be burning 5. So we are slowly killing our opponent with this too, as well, and getting extra pops with our Twisted Personality skill. So I think 3 is great. It's really, really nice. If anything, this deck has become stall control, in the sense of it's not really stall, but it's more of controlling your opponent's resources on their board. Maybe burn, stall, control, burn. I really don't know. It's a really fun deck, and Nightmare Wheel just makes it slightly better. Again, because we don't have those types of actual floodgates that stop our opponent from attacking. Nightmare Wheel will have to do. And finally, for the last stall / burn card, it's 3 Zoma, the Spirit. Still a really advantageous card in the format. It's just really nice, only for the fact that we can't, you know, have anything else that stops our opponent from attacking. You know, maybe we get our opponent low enough in life points that their 1800 monster killing this is too much for them to handle, because they take burn damage from whatever the attack of whatever killed this. So really nice. Again, problem with this portion of the deck is that 9 cards are susceptible to Jinzo, so it kind of sucks. But that's fine, because we do have other things to make up for it. Oops. We do have other things to make up for it, right? But it is kind of almost feels like a Protect the Castle type of deck, especially when it comes to things, well, mainly the main thing, that being the Swarm of Locusts here. Because we do only play 1, the monster pop isn't really that available outside of Twisted Personality as the skill card, so we kind of really do have to be cautious of our Swarm of Locusts as a card, again, because we only play 1 copy. But as for the trap lineup, again, it's only 9. It's not bad, but you do have to be worried about Jinzo. But we haven't really seen too many people play Jinzo this format outside of Spellproof Armor, and that is the deck that this deck in particular has the, I would say, the hardest time against, outside of, you know, everything else. The biggest problem in that deck is Jinzo, and if your opponent's playing Spellproof Armor, there's not much that we can do. The biggest thing that you can do is hope you've had Swarm of Locust set, and then having the Sphere Kuriboh in your hand to negate the attack, and flipping this up next turn and popping the opponent's Jinzo. It does get hard, so you do have to be able to hit your opponent pretty quickly. I think in that matchup specifically, even though these are only 1,000 and then the other two are 500, yeah, so 500. Even though they're only 500, I think you need to start hitting with those 500. Because the thing about this, or these cards in general, is that if you flip them up during your turn and you don't flip them back down, right, and you go to attack, if they survive the following turn, which you're going to be protecting your stuff anyway, is the same as if they were face down. During the start of turn, you can, or during your main phase, you can activate the effect, flip them down, and then flip summon them up, because that's the first manual summon that you've done. So, very, very simple. And really effective, especially against a deck like that. You really have to start putting damage in. If you cannot, you're going to have a hard time. Because again, almost half your deck is traps. So Jinzo is the killer of this deck. In Inner Conflict, you really don't see Jinzo being played, you know, in main deck. You'll see it inside for sure, but some decks play it, but a lot of others don't. Again, the biggest problem that you're going to face is against Spellproof Armor. We've seen people start picking up Spellproof Armor even though it's a trash deck. Don't get me wrong, just because it's good against this does not mean it's good in general. I think Spellproof Armor is terrible, and I think it's a deck that falls out of favor pretty quickly. I consider it rogue, just because of how dumb it is. Just because you summon a 2300 beat stick does not mean that you have a good deck. I will say though, locking your opponent out of spells and traps is very strong. Well, not locking them out, but making your stuff immune to spell and traps basically. So your opponent can still activate spells, but they can't target your monsters, obviously, right? The side deck for this. Choose what you need to choose. Obviously, you'll play things like Lost Wind for the APC matchup. You can play Offerings if you want, Offerings to the Doomed, because it's Offerings, but again, Spa is a problem. So, you know, maybe you side in, or side Night Assailants. You can take out, you know, oh, it's at the top, what am I doing? A Swarm of Locusts and something else and put into Night Assailants. Again, it's up to you, if you really want to. Or you can, you know, play Allure of Darkness, because majority of these are dark. I believe the only one that's not is Deslakuta. Let me see. Yeah, Deslakuta's are Earth. The others are dark. So, play what you want. As for the extra deck, there is no extra deck unless you're playing Waking the Dragon. Otherwise, it's just a Flextra deck, and you can play whatever you want. So, with that being said, that's going to be the end of the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Give us a share here or there. Go ahead and check out all the links down in the description below, all the Discords, the Twitches, and the Twitters. And, yeah, let us know what you think of this deck. Down in the comments below, would you change? Would you play it? You know, all the same usual stuff. And, yeah, that's going to be it for me, guys. This is Kevin with POGs. Have a happy new year. Till next year. See ya.